The Cathedral is a church that launched March 1st at Rave Cinemas.
Tara and I co-pastor the Cathedral.
Todd and I co-pastor the Cathedral together. When I was really young, I remember just really feeling like the Lord had a specific plan for my life. I wasn't necessarily sure what it was. I remember when I was really young, I was laying in my bed, I'm like, God, just let me be a missionary somewhere. Like even as a young age, like I wanted to like live my life serving for the Lord. And so when I was in high school, I really felt like the Lord spoke to me at a conference during the worship service. It was almost audible. And God was like, I'm asking you to join me in the work that I'm doing. And so I knew from that point on I wanted to be a pastor. I didn't know that I was going to be, one of the lead pastors of a church, or that I was going to plant a church or anything. I thought, maybe I'd do hospital visits and, preach a sermon every once in a while and pray for people. And that was about it.
When I was 14, I was at a camp. I was at a camp during the summer out in Grass Lake, Michigan, which is near Jackson. And there was a point in a service where I just felt like the Lord was really putting on my heart to minister. And so around that same time, when I was 14, I preached my first message, and blessing to the congregation that had to listen to that. But it was rough as a 14-year-old. But over time, God began to develop those skills, develop that calling. And when I went to Bible college to pursue an education in ministry, there was a point where there was never really a point in those early days where I felt like church planting was what I wanted to do. I thought, crazy people plant churches, like, there's no like financial security there and stuff like that. And so, but I knew that I wanted to come back to Flint and do something. I lived my entire life in Flint, and we went to an Assembly of God Bible College out in Missouri, and we met back in 2005, so about 10 years ago, and at the very beginning of our time knowing each other, she couldn't stand me, but I wore her down, so it worked out well. So
Todd and I had started dating in 2007, I think. And we started dating, and I was actually coming up to Flint. I was doing an internship in Erie, Pennsylvania at a church there. And I was a young adult intern. So essentially I just worked with college kids and like young adults, and I was kind of learning from the pastors there. And I came up to Flint to visit Todd and meet his family for the first time. And as I was driving on the I-69 overpass, I was coming, the Saginaw Street overpass on I-69. I was driving underneath that, and it was like, just like that. The Lord was like, you're gonna come back here and you're gonna plant a church. And I didn't tell Todd because we were not engaged or anything. And the last thing I wanted was to be like, hey, just so you know, I'm moving to your city, even though, we're not engaged or anything, and I'm gonna, plant a church one day.
Really, the reason that we chose the name the Cathedral is because in medieval times, in a period of time which was often very bleak, and kind of a place in history where often people lost a sense of hope, cathedrals stood in communities as a center of life and a beacon of hope. Even the way that the architecture was designed was to demonstrate this sovereignty of God, that there was something beyond just where we were currently. And we want that to be kind of in a spiritual sense, the way that the cathedral, our church, is. We want it to be a place where people find life and hope, and we can be that beacon of hope in the community, and to show, and to provide an atmosphere where people can encounter the presence of God like they maybe haven't before.
Every church is kind of unique in its own way, and so I don't want to like make assumptions of what other churches are doing or their culture, but I can tell you what our culture is like, and we're the type of church where we want to be a church that unchurched people feel comfortable coming in and feel welcomed. We think for the person that isn't there. So what that means is we're always looking, out, saying what is it that's going to make somebody new that comes in feel uncomfortable, and let's avoid doing that at all costs. So our culture is to be like irrational hospitality. When you walk in, you're going to be greeted in the parking lot, and you're going to be greeted at the door, and then you're going to be greeted when you're walking in to find your seat. Just irrational hospitality is huge for us. Thinking for the person that hasn't ever walked through the doors. That includes signage and how it smells. And if you walk into our bathroom, you'll see just like little things there that, like toiletries, and you forgot to put on deodorant today. It happens. Here's a stick of deodorant, So we just try to go above and beyond.
I mean, we want to make a positive impact in Flint, and one of the things that we've been very particular about making known is that we love this city. Flint isn't our mission field in the sense that it's like a charity case or something like that. We're honored to pastor in this city. We love this people. The people of Flint, whether they realize it or not, are a very unique breed of people. There's a strength and a resilience in this city which you don't find in many other parts of the country. There's a transparency here. If you ask somebody how you're doing in, Arkansas, you might get well, I'm doing fine, thank you. You ask somebody how they're doing in Flint, they're going to tell you, good or bad, they're going to tell you, what it's at. And we love that. It's a great city to minister in.
It was a series of searching. We really had a heart for downtown. We wanted to be downtown, but there is not a place that could facilitate a congregation of our size that could just, it's more than just our Sunday morning seating. We have to think about our children and our nursery and our pre-Ks and all, having a lobby area and a good parking spot. And so we looked around for a solid year looking for a location, and we came across Rave Cinemas, and on their website it actually says, "Are you a church that's looking for a space to meet in?" And I was like, yes, we are. So I contacted them, and they were just so amazing to work with, and it just went so, they have been amazing. It just has gone so smoothly. We decided that we needed time to learn, and so this has been, really 8 years in the making. We have, served under pastors, we've served with other churches, and done our best to learn. The other thing that we did is because we wanted to plant a non-denominational church, because sometimes people have bad experiences with denominations, and so that's just like a barrier that goes right up. And so we wanted to remove any barrier to keep people from walking into our doors. And so we paired up with a group called the Association of Related Churches out of Birmingham, Alabama. And they gave us the most amazing resources. We went down for a week of training where they just trained us, here's how you keep your finances in order. Here's how you don't get thrown in jail. Here's how you obey the law. And here's how, you can best empower your congregation to, be healthy, thriving followers of Jesus. And then they did, a marriage assessment on us, because they know if Todd and my marriage isn't healthy, we're not going to be able to lead a congregation in a healthy manner. So, they assessed our marriage, they assessed our finances, they assessed our theology, and just said, okay, you guys are ready to go. And then they gave us mentors, people that we could call and say, I don't know how to handle this situation. And they're like, that's okay, we've been doing it for years, we'll give you some advice. So they have been amazing. So they have been a huge part of this process of learning and growing the cathedral and making it is what it is today. The first thing, obviously, I would encourage them to spend some time praying and asking God to confirm in their heart that is something that He's calling them to. It's a very difficult job, and it's a draining job sometimes, because you really care and love people. and you have a love for your congregation, and sometimes you have to stand by as they make poor choices and try to be there for them. And it's a difficult job sometimes, so I would encourage them to spend some time in prayer.
The first thing, honestly, that I would say is if you can be happy doing anything else, do that thing. And that sounds crazy, but the reason that I say that is because pastoring is a very difficult job. And it's one of those things where if you're genuinely called to vocational ministry, if God's really put that on your heart, you will be unhappy doing anything else. But if that's not that calling that He's placed in your life, there are a lot easier ways to make a difference in the community and stuff like that. Beyond that, what I would say, if someone really feels like, yeah, God's calling me to be a pastor, God's calling me to plant a church, the first thing that I would say is build a team. Build a team. The way that humanity is structured is through relationships, and we work best as a team, not in isolation and as individuals. And so we had 40, when we launched the cathedral, we had about 45 people with us that were committed to making this thing happen. And they are some of the best people that I've ever met in my life. And I would have never dreamed of doing this without them.
Yep, I volunteer here at the Cathedral, and my title is officially the Dream Team Coordinator. So that means that the Dream Team is the entire group of volunteers that we have here at the Cathedral, and I kind of help coordinate where everybody's going to work, and I work with our team coaches to help relay information to the specific individual teams that we have.
I do the initial setup of everything, basically everything you see behind me here with the kids' sanctuary and the nursery and preschool. And basically I'm the go-to guy for any sort of setup issues. Church is non-denominational, very friendly people, very welcoming environment, and a lot of good people here.
Todd and Tara met when they were in college, and they've been a great team ever since. They are so anointed, so we are so blessed to have them as our lead pastors. They are they're filled with the anointing like you wouldn't believe. If you can stay for the service, that'd be amazing, because you'll definitely experience something great.
If you're looking for a church that will welcome you as you are, very nice people, very friendly people, open people, this is definitely the place to be.
I can only imagine.